So whenever I would go out, yes, I would have fun, but there would be those moments where you're like, but what am I doing?
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
And the moment that conviction comes, you drink more,
Mhm.
so that you just
Yeah.
forget about it.
You're watching Testimonies of Hope. Witness the faith, courage, and transformation brought about by the guiding light of Jesus Christ in the lives of our students here at Pure Light Missions. From tragedy to triumph, this is Testimonies of Hope. Welcome back to Testimonies of Hope, where our first year students here at Pure Light Missions share their experiences with Jesus. I'm joined by Brother Bafana, and he'll be sharing with us how Jesus has led him in his life. Good day, Brother Bafana. How are you doing?
I'm good, and you, sir?
No, I'm doing well myself. Brother Bafana, please tell me a bit about yourself.
Uh, yes, as you've said, my name is Bafana. Second name, welcome. Dhlamini from Free State, Eastern Free State, the very small town called Friede. Yeah, that's basically where I grew up. Did most of my schooling there, primary to secondary. Yeah, that's basically where I grew up,
Oh,
up
wow.
until I matriculated.
Free,
2014.
free that sounds Afrikaans.
Yeah. It means peace.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you
it's a
grew up
place
in a...
of place of peace.
Okay, is it like an Afrikaans community?
Free State on its own, it's mostly dominated by there are a lot of Afrikaans people.
Okay.
But the place itself, Friede, is um, close to KZN, Mpumalanga. So it's a mixture of languages there.
Okay.
Zulu, Sotho, you have it there.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. No, nice. Bafana, so tell me about your upbringing in the home. How was it growing up? What was your family dynamics like?
To be honest, I really grew up in a loving family. Um, but personally, I'm an orphan. But that on its own, to show you that I actually grew up in a loving family. People outside couldn't see that, especially people at school. They couldn't see that. But yeah, I grew up under the care of my grandmother. That is up until grade 9. Yes, I was doing grade 9 when she passed on. Yeah, that's basically how I grew up. Yeah, the young naughty boy.
Young naughty boy. Was the naughtiness being inspired by the fact that you didn't have parents?
Certain things were inspired by that, but being naughty was just conforming to um, the standards, societal standards, and also being influenced by your friends at school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And what was your religious background like? Did you have any religion growing up?
Yeah, I did. I did. We had a little bit of Christianity at home, but infused with ancestral worship, of which I think ancestral worship took number one, because when we would go to church on Sundays, we attended church at Engekerk,
Okay.
one of the Protestants
Yeah.
movement churches. But going to church never really had that much of an impact in me, in my life, because we would just go to church just to please my grandmother, and yeah, and just have fun with friends at church.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you had a Christian background as well as ancestral. Many people want to merge the two
Yeah,
and
yeah.
unite it. How did you guys manage these two religions, so to say, in your home?
Uh, as I said, Christianity was second.
Okay.
So ancestral worship was basically number one, because as far as can remember, we would have what they call umsebenzi.
Okay.
Like once in every 2 months.
And what is umsebenzi?
Umsebenzi, it's whereby we would come together as a family
Okay.
and slaughter whatever animal that has been agreed upon to be slaughtered. Can either be a goat, sheep. We would do it for appeasing, our ancestors, and also as a sign of showing gratitude and acknowledging the way of guiding us and opening doors for us. Yeah, we would do that.
So it was a ritual.
Yeah,
that you also
some kind
partook in.
Yeah.
And how would you know when the ancestors are appeased?
That's a good question, because I don't think they really were appeased, because we never really knew if they were happy or not. It just kept on coming over and over, and yeah, we really never got to a point where we were like, okay, now we are done. We're not doing this year. The ancestors are happy. It would always be one thing over another. Hey, the ancestors are cold. We need to make tea.
The ancestors
The
are
ancestors, yeah. Yeah, they would say such things. We need to make tea, buy blankets.
cold. Okay.
Yeah, it
And
was just...
What would you do with the tea and the blankets?
A tea would refer to a ritual ceremony.
Okay.
We would just, come together as a family, slaughter whatever animal, and just go to... We had this rondavo at home. We used to call it... it wasn't rondavo. It was just a room dedicated for these services.
Yeah.
We'd call it a Latin.
Okay.
They would go and burn our incenses, have candles, and do all of our worship there. Would go, and I remember this one time, we went there to just to introduce ourselves to our ancestors. You'd go there, and you would say your name, who's your parents, yeah, and all of that.
Being a Christian now, right? Being converted to Adventism, what do you now think about those practices that you used to do?
I can see that one was seriously lost. Because some of these things, you do them in ignorance. You do them because your parents are doing them. They are doing them because their parents were doing them. You never really ask questions as to, why are we doing this? What's the significance of this?
Yeah.
How does it benefit me?
Yeah.
You just do them. So there's more of secrets to this. It's not really transparent. You don't really know what is it that you're doing. You're just operating in the dark. So I think there's a huge difference between where I am now and where I was, because God is overly transparent.
Yeah.
He wants you to know
Yeah.
why he's doing this.
And question as well.
Yeah, yeah. Just like as he says in Isaiah, come now, let us reason. You understand why you're doing whatever that you're doing.
Wow, that's very interesting, because I believe many people are just doing these things, and we actually ask them, but why is that? What's the purpose of this? They don't really have satisfactory answers.
Yeah, true.
Now, how did you then balance ancestral worship with Christianity? So you go to church, and I
Yeah, on
believe,
Sunday you go to church.
and is church not teaching contrary teachings based on what you're believing in ancestral worship? How's it working?
I think even with the churches themselves, they are led by people who don't really have much to say about ancestral worship, especially, okay, maybe with regards to Engia, they don't really care much about that. In fact, they infuse the two.
Really?
Because you'd find people who, Sangomas, they would still attend Engia, and so it's really not a matter of trying to find a clear, distinctive line between the two. They're just blending things together, and just, this thing of saying that we're just worshiping one God.
Wow. So then what then made you to not be actually serious in any of this? Because now you mentioned that, you are just going to church just for the sake of going to church. Why was that so?
I think it's because even at church, there was less emphasis on character development, growing up, how these stories from the Bible relate to us as kids. So there was really no biblical foundation laid, as to how the Bible can inform our moral practices, how the Bible can shape us and mold the way we make decisions, and affect, our walk, in a sense. Yeah.
So now, do you think that the fact that church didn't have this moral compass for you, do you think it affected you in your life?
To an extent, it did. It did because you have these older people who are telling you to go to church, and they are telling you not to do 1, 2, 3. But when you look at their lives, and you're like, but so you can't really strike a balance as to what's the importance of this. If somewhere in life, growing up, I'm still going to go against what I am saying is important now. It's more like saying you're not supposed to drink, but you're older now. What does it mean? Does it mean now you have to drink? There was really no clear definition to what the Bible or religion or Christianity itself should do in one's life.
Wow. Now, I believe now you obviously have, a moral compass. You have surrendered your life to Christ. But before you tell us how you actually got to this point, I just want to know, what was your life like before Christ? Because it says the love of Christ compels us. It restrains us, constrains us from doing certain things.
True.
Before you had this constraint, what was it like?
Hey, man, I was just a typical Kasi boy, influenced by society and standards that are being set by society, loving clothes, labels, girls, music, all of that. So growing up, I was really an active boy. Yes, of course, to an extent, I played soccer, but most of my life was around clothes and dancing and music and all of that. That's basically my life before conversion.
What do you think was leading you to pursue, this type of life? Girls, music, fashion, and what was the motivating factor for that?
I think number one would be because it's what's accepted in society, but also what's underlying there. It's someone hiding from something. I think most of these things, on my behalf, to say, I did them as a way of escaping the questions that I would have about being an orphan, and also trying not to get people to get to that side of me, or that part of me, So I used these things to be things that define who Bafana is. In fact, growing up, I was called Fox. I was called Fox. It's such a very long story. Back in primary, I used to love Zakes Bantwini. And there was this grandmother who used to call me Bafogza. So one of my primary mates heard that, and then he took it, and all of a sudden at school they started calling me Bafogza, and then it got shortened to Bafox, and then I liked the idea of Fox. I was like, oh, I'm keeping this, and then I took Fox, and then I blended the two Fox and Bantwini, so I was called Fox Bantwini because I liked Zakes Bantwini and how he used to dance and all of that. Yeah.
So you were into house music?
Yeah, definitely
Say-
house music, deep house, soul candy music. Yeah, I grew up to that.
Was this your escape?
Definitely it was. It was. It made me feel accepted. It made me to, hide certain scars that I never thought I had. Sometimes there's certain things that you don't think you have up until you hit against the wall and all of that is revealed. So yeah, it was sort of like an escape for me. Of course, at that time I wasn't aware. I wasn't aware. It was just normal for me. Yeah.
And what do you think was the folly in dealing with, your underlying issues in this way?
I think, when you are growing up, sometimes you engage in certain things because, you think they would take away the void, especially with girls, just because you don't have a mother, now you seek the attention of the other gender so that you can try and fill that void in you, just to have someone who can kind of relate with who Fox is, who Bafana is. So you engage in those type of things just to fill that void.
And, many times filling that void with girls, partying and things, it works, but sometimes you might find yourself, alone in your room, midnight, you're looking at the ceiling, and you're like, but what am I doing?
True.
Did you have any of those moments?
In fact, it damages more than it causes a lot of damage more than repair. Because you are never really satisfied.
Yeah.
You get this one girl,
Yeah.
and you're like,
I'm tired of
go
it.
for another. So instead of feeling the void, it actually reveals how deep the void is, how empty you are. So you are consistently seeking for things, So it causes a lot of damage. I don't want to lie. It causes a lot of damage because even with how you relate with women, it shifts your perspective. You don't really value women.
Yeah.
You don't see their worth. You just see people that you can use to, fill whatever void that you have.
Yeah. Someone might be watching, they might say, you know what, okay, I don't really use women for that. My escape will be alcohol. I don't see anything wrong with that. Alcohol, smoking, and all those things. What would you say about that?
Even with alcohol, it's good because I have an experience of both. Even with alcohol, it is a coping mechanism. Of course, when you are still in it, you can't see. You can't see because the reason why I started partying and having night outs was because of what alcohol made me do. Some people don't really like alcohol, but they like what alcohol makes them do to do. And in a way they end up getting trapped,
Yeah.
in alcohol because they are so much in love with what this thing makes them to do.
Yeah.
And they don't have any other way to do what they want to do besides this. You understand? So let's take for instance, if you want to in a kasi situation, you want to be loved by everyone, but the only way that is there for you to be loved by everyone is to drink alcohol and be in a position where you can have conversations with those type of people. So what would you do? You'd go out. So you don't actually want to drink. You just want to be loved by people. You just want to know people. You just want to mingle with people. And there is no common denominator between you and those people. So what becomes the common denominator? It's alcohol.
I see. Wow. So now, did you ever get to a point where you're like, you know what, this life is nice. I'm gonna live the rest of my life like this. After life, I don't care. You know, I'm YOLO. You know, that's how many people are living their lives.
True.
And when someone is at that point, it's very difficult for, you know, the Holy Spirit to actually get hold of them. Did you have any, before you answer that, did you have any convictions that what you're doing is wrong, what you're doing is wrong? And did you shut it down and say, you know what, this life is the one?
I think when I was tracing God's hand in my life, I had that. I think it was in matric. Matric. At that point in matric, we were already into the Advent message.
Okay.
Because I was home churched. There was no there still is no church at Friede. So I was home churched. So at that point, in my walk, whatever material that I had received from my uncle, it had already given me a glimpse of what is the ideal. So me fighting that ideal really opened a way for God to reveal himself to me, and show me that this is not how you're going to live the rest of your life. That's the ideal over there. Whatever that you're still doing now, it's not what I want for you. You know, so whenever I would go out, yes, I would have fun, but there would be those moments where you're like, but what am I doing?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And the moment that conviction comes, you drink more, so that you just forget about it. And
So then, tell me then, how did you then fully surrender your life to Christ? What led up to you making that decision?
It's really a series of a lot of events. Basically because of the people who were involved in my conversion life. You know, starting from the death of my grandmother, who had a death wish that she made to my uncle. She told him that the only way that my family, was going to survive was through a church. But now she didn't understand. She didn't know which church. You know, she didn't understand either what kind of a church. You know, because even in her own walk, she was confused. She was convicted. She wanted to know, how am I supposed to live? Because she went from denomination to denomination. She went from Sangoma to Sangoma, trying to understand what is it that God wants for me so that I can teach my kids. So she made that wish. And then from that point on, my uncle then took it upon himself to, because he was very fond of my grandmother. He took it upon himself to go and look for the church. So now between 2010 and 2012, we moved around 4 or 5 denominations: Shembe, ZCC, Zion. You know, trying to find what my grandmother was talking about, and
it seems like those churches were not doing they were not giving what you're looking for.
They were not.
What was your criteria?
I don't think I would have a definite answer to that, because the person who was doing that was my uncle.
Okay.
You know, but judging from what I know about him, he's a person who is very logical. He's a person who is very reasonable. So I think when he looked at the point where we were, he didn't see himself fulfilled. He didn't see how this thing would have an impact in his life. So he further went on, and then that's when now we in 2012, and we joined this church, one of these charismatic churches.
Yeah.
So he found this church via Radio Pulpit.
Okay.
So on Radio Pulpit, there was a pastor there from Pretoria who was preaching, and he kind of liked him, and then he made a call. Then the men came at home. He evangelized us. We held crusades at my yard.
Wow.
Held crusades. We eventually started a church. It was called Mount Carmel.
Okay.
Mount Carmel. We started a church, and this is now in 2012. Towards the end of that year, still, my uncle noticed that, yes, we are close, but there are other principles that are not in harmony with the Bible that
you're practicing.
Yeah, that we're practicing, even with regards to tithe, how tithe is portrayed, So he then started to, put a hold on the church and try and search more on the scriptures.
Wow.
So he then realized that, no, this is not the church again. Because there are certain things that are not in harmony with what the Bible is teaching. Then he went on to search again. And lucky enough, by God's grace, not lucky enough, by God's grace, he found the Adventist movement. He never really shared much about it, how he found the Advent movement. But I remember he told me that because he was around Ekurhuleni during those years, he met someone who gave him Mark Woodman. I'm not sure if you know Mark Woodman's studies.
Okay.
So when he listened to that, those recordings of Mark Woodman, he was like,
God's final call.
Yes, God's final call. Yes, that's the one. He was like, there are things that are being explained here that are in the Bible that I never knew.
Wow.
And then I think that's how he then now went around looking for that church that preached exactly that message that Mark Woodman was preaching.
Wow.
Yes.
Friends out there, giving a mere book to someone, Steps to Christ, remember, when God said remember, or whatever DVDs, you don't know how far it can lead. I believe there are many testimonies where people have been led to Christ, to the Seventh Adventist Church, by just a mere pamphlet that you could have handed to someone. So don't give up. Go out there and just share the gospel. Many people will be led to Christ. So how did this now make you surrender your life to Christ?
This is now 2014. I'm matriculating. I'm doing my matric. I'm an Adventist, and I'm
You're an Adventist.
Yeah, now I'm an Adventist. But because of how Adventism has a way of showing you clearly that whatever that you're doing is, in fact, let me not say Adventism. The Bible, the way it is preached, the way it is taught, it had a way of revealing unto me that the way that you are living your life now, it's not the ideal. So I started having that internal battle, trying to surrender, fully to God. I was like, hey, but God, hey, this is difficult. I was like, now I should forget about my girlfriends and lifestyle. I was like, this is like demanding a lot, because on the previous church, the charismatic church, whether you had girlfriends or what, you'd still go to church on Sunday
and you accept it
and shout hallelujah, fire and all that, and you accept it.
Yeah.
Now with this movement, it was different. It required a certain change in terms of your morals, in terms of how you respect your body, yourself as the temple of God. So though it came with a lot of revelations that I think at that point, being a teenager, I was like, I'm not ready for this. And I kept on fighting the feeling all the way in my varsity years at UKZN. This is now in 2015, 16, 17, and 18. I kept on fighting the feeling. But I would go to church from time to time. I would
Yeah.
go to church. But I would still, be like, hey, not yet. Not yet. Up until now, I was working at Samsung head office, which was which had a contract with EOH. This is now in 2019. God came through for me. I got a job, and then he kept on revealing to me that, you know what, you must change your lifestyle. I was like, hey, still, man, it's. I don't want this. And then COVID hit. Went back to Pretoria. When I this is now at my aunt's place. So when I got to Pretoria, um, that's when I started attending church fully, fully Sabbath to Sabbath.
Did COVID have any impact on that?
Yeah, it did. I think that the very mere fact of me moving from Tembisa, where I was renting, to back to Pretoria, it was God's plan. It was God's plan for me to go back to, instead of going to Free State. He chose Pretoria for me because it was closer. So I went to Pretoria, I worked from home, but Sabbath to Sabbath I would go to church, and I think that's when the power of the Holy Spirit really started working in my life, because I got sick that year. I was attacked by TB, and those events, they now really opened my eyes to how
The
good,
events of TB.
yeah, being sick, it really opened my eyes to God's grace, in my life, regardless of the decisions that I made. Adding on to the condition that I had with my
Yeah.
lifestyle,
Yeah.
but still God sustained me.
Are you saying your lifestyle added to your condition?
Yeah, yeah. You can't. When you have respiratory issues, you can't be, drinking and smoking. You can't. But regardless of that, God still sustained me. You know, and then I think having those personal experiences with Him made me grow. As the Bible says, by faith, day by day. Surrendering day by day. Growing from grace to grace. I think that's how I then got to a point where, like, okay, I'm going to give my life fully to God. Heading towards 2021, when I made my decision to get baptized at Mabupane SDA Church. That's when I fully gave my life to God, and I got baptized in 2021. I still had a void in me. It was like God was saying, in as much as you are now baptized,
Yeah.
this is not the only thing that I want from you. It's not like I just wanted you to give your life to me only. I also want you to serve me. I also want you to serve others. You know, and that didn't make sense to me. I was like, how? How do you want me to serve others?
Yeah.
You know, it took 3 years for God to reveal His will for my life. Because 2021, I'm baptized.
Yeah.
2022, I'm still not sure what is it that God wants from me. 2023, which is last year, I had two hijacking incidents at two within a space of about 3 months. Life-threatening events where I really saw God's hand. When you are at a point where you can't do anything for yourself, and you remember that there is only one person who can intervene at this moment, and that person is divine, not just flesh and blood. That person is divine, the person who can influence people's thoughts and actions, and that's when I realized that I've been very slow and seeking God's will, chasing after His heart, and that's when he revealed himself to me that I really need to work for him. Because last year, during 23, I had applied. I had made applications to, to try and further try and study theology, to become a pastor. Because I could feel that God wants me to do something. But I thought, it means I have to be a pastor.
You didn't like the idea of being a pastor?
There were people who would, like, here and there, who would throw that idea to say, all right, well, you must be a pastor, you. I was like, me. Um, so that's when now I tried to understand what is it that really God wanted for me to do. And I think for the very mere fact that wasn't successful in terms of my application, because I had to inquire and get a letter from the conference. I had to get a recommendation letter from my local church. I wasn't ready for my local church to know what I wanted to do because, of reasons around spirituality of the church, and and with all due respect, the elders, they really grounded me, but because of the conflict and that was happening between, the elders themselves, I wasn't sure as to who to go to, who would give me like concrete, sound advice. So I kept on praying to God that please reveal your will to me. And yeah.
Now, how did Pure Light then get into the picture? Because I like to think it must have probably been around this time.
Yeah, definitely.
When did you first hear about Pure Light? How did it even become an option for you?
I heard about Pure Light in 2022, actually, through Jason Chuma.
You know Jason Chuma?
Yes.
Right.
I heard about it 2022. I was like, he came to church because I go to church with his parents.
Okay.
So when he came to church, I remember having a conversation with him. He was telling me that I'm at Pure Light Missions. I'm studying there. Never really paid attention to it. I was like, okay, no, sure, man, it's fine. Yeah, you're at Pure Light, it's okay. And then I just left it there. And then last year, it was towards year end. Usually at local churches, you have elections and preparing for the following year, electing new executive members, members of the church board. I was traveling with his father, Jason Chuma's father, who is now an elder at Mabopane.
Okay.
I was having a conversation with him, and this is now in the evening, Sabbath evening. We're just finished nominating people and candidates for for the following year. So we were traveling from one elder's house. He was taking me home. So we were having a conversation. I was like, hey, you know what, my elder, there's something that is like burning me. And he was like, yeah, I know. I was like, I know. In fact, it's God that made it possible for us to have this conversation. And I told him that, hey, I really want to give my life to God, and I really want to work for God. He was like, yeah, have you considered Pure Light? I was like, Pure Light? Like, yeah, do you remember Jason? I was like, yeah, I do remember Jason. Yeah. I was like, hey, my elder, let me go and check this Pure Light thing when I get home. Immediately when I got home, that evening, opened my laptop, went to YouTube, Pure Light Missions. I listened to every student's testimony that I found there. I looked for every Pure Light content on YouTube. This is in one night.
You mean testimonies and these very testimonies?
Yes. I think I listened to Sfiso, Nganyezi, Sitatsepiso. I went through all of them. And I also went through a testimony of the school. And when I listened to the testimony of how the school came about, I was moved.
Wow.
I was like, this is where God wants me.
Wow.
Where providence, where really sticking to Bible doctrines and counsel itself of the Advent message, I was like, this is where God wants me. And then immediately that night, I made inquiries, got an email, Pure Light Missions info, sent an email. I was like, hey, can I please get applications for application forms? And then I think I got them on Sunday. I got them on Sunday. When I got them on Sunday, they told me that I need to send it back by Tuesday. I finished the application form Monday. The entire application form, I filled it, I sat down.
You do know it's very long.
I didn't know it was long, but when I opened it, I was like, yo, this thing is long. I was like, but do you want this?
Yeah.
You'll sit down and complete the application form. So, yeah.
Wow. I know you had an encounter with Pure Light Mission students during the December internship break.
Yes. That was my first mission camp ever.
Okay. How did it lead up to that?
Even there, God is like, God is amazing. Last year, my cousin Lebhang, he's part of the ministry that was conducting the camp.
Okay.
So he told me that, hey man, we have a camp at Newcastle. So what do you think?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, sure, man, let's go. That's when I mobilized my other cousins. It was 5 of us who went there.
Wow.
We made a decision that, you know what, we don't have money, but God will come through for us. This is after my contract has ended with Oram Institute where I was working.
Yeah.
I was like, but now, where am I going to get funds? On that very same day that we made a decision to travel from from Pretoria to Free State, because this was now in December. So we were going to go to Free State. So
Yeah.
on our way there, bank notification, money from UNISA. I was like, God is providing, because I didn't have money to pay for the fee, for the camp fee.
Yeah.
Now I had money not only to pay for myself, but for my other cousins, as well as enough petrol for the car. I was like, God is like really coming through for us. So when we got there, I see this person, this sister. I'm like, but I saw you on YouTube. I think it was Sister Rose. I'm like, we have Pure Light Missions students here. And then Nkanyeze, I think he came the following day. Even Sfiso as well. I was like, what's happening here? These people, I just saw them like 3 weeks back on YouTube, and I'm meeting them here. And I didn't even know that Pure Light students were going to come there. I met about 5 of them there.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, this is amazing. God is really, and I haven't got a response on my application as yet. So I was like, wow, God is amazing. Then it's exactly what He wants for me. Pure light. So that's how I met some of the Pure Light students there.
Wow, that's a wonderful story. Now I know that when people usually apply to Pure Light Missions, there are many challenges that they face between the time of application and the time of arrival.
Truly.
Did you have any challenges that you encountered?
Yeah, definitely. I remember I even inquired about sponsorship as to how does the institution assist with regards to that.
Yeah.
So I had an agreement with this elder from church who was a potential sponsor. He act- he sadly passed away. I think about last month.
Wow.
Who was supposed to assist me financially here at school.
Sure.
So I seriously had financial problems, but God came through. God came through. I was able to get funds from my local church members who assisted me with money for transport, for my registration. Yeah, those were the challenges. But regardless of those challenges, still God came through for me. Yeah.
Wow, wow. And now that you had pure admissions, what are you studying?
Um, that's a good question. I'm doing health. I'm a health major.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's quite rare for people, males, to actually come to pure admissions and decide to
yeah,
do health. You know,
yeah,
I actually had a student. He had pure admissions a while back, and he says, "You know what? I want to do health because the Bible.
yeah,
I know the Bible. I'm just here because I want to know more about health. That's
yeah,
why."
yeah.
And as he took the classes of pure light missions towards the end of the year, I think they were starting the book of Daniel, and he was like, "You know what? I think I'm gonna study Bible now." What is
Uh,
motivating you to do health?
I think it's because of the ideas that I've had around health itself. Considering my condition, um, I had registered a farm and completed a business plan where I wanted to venture into medicinal herbs, producing essential oils and medical capsules. So that idea, and also being like consistently sick, and also working for a health institute like Oram, um, it shaped my decision towards applying for health. So those were the reasons that I had. I was like, okay, it's clear enough. I've always wanted to own a farm where I could, impact people's lives, and especially in terms of their health. So I was like, okay, this is where God wants me. This is where God wants me.
Wow. So when you came to Pure Light, how was it for you? The expectations were met?
Um, I think based on the testimony of the school, I think it ticked every box. I think the moment I started engaging in classes, in fact, it revealed how um, pure light is the correct way of education. Each and every class, it kept on just opening my eyes to how, the program here at Pure Light, the content itself, proper true education. So I think it just exceeded my expectations. The program here it can't be compared to anything I've been to.
Wow.
I've been to different universities. I've been to um, public schools. This is totally different. This is a school that has an impact in your entire development, physically, emotionally, spiritually. You are growing towards the ideal that God had for man.
Wow,
You
no,
know,
that's really wonderful to hear. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Bafana. I know and believe that many people will be encouraged and were encouraged for those who are listening. I know that someone might be listening right now and they can kind of relate with where you come from. I just want you to give that person a motivation.
yeah.
What would you say to that person?
When you read the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verses 26, very common verse. It says that man was created in God's image. If you are questioning your value, if you are questioning if you are worth um this life, you are worth the good things in life, remember that you are made in God's image. And what is God's image? God's image is love. God is a perfect God. God is an all-knowing God, and He made you in His image, and He wants you to grow and develop and be like Him. So I think sometimes we undervalue ourselves, and we don't really think that we're worth anything. So it's just a reminder that we are made in God's image. That on its own should waken a realization of how much heaven values us. You know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. Wow, there you have it, friends. God has placed a priceless value upon your life. So live as though you've been bought by the precious blood of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Thank you so much for tuning in once again to Testimonies of Hope. Hopefully, we'll see you next time.